And thank you, Kanchana, for letting me host this workshop. It is slightly different from exactly the corporate kind of workshops which we do, and that's why we call it Beyond the Resume. Because I believe that more than the skills or the intellect or the degrees that we have, there is something deeper in all of us which is driving us. A lot of times we are not even aware of certain parts of us which are driving us, and they show up in ways a lot of times in ways where it is not helping us, right? Also they show up in places where they also come as courage. Suddenly you might be in the midst of some difficult situation, and suddenly some part of you comes forward which has tremendous courage. And same way there are parts of us which get very scared, triggered, and act out. And if we understand all these parts, we can actually work together and we can be fully integrated human being. And that is something which I have personally experienced in my own healing journey. And I started my career in corporate, and for almost 10 years, but I had reached a point where I had hit a roadblock both in my personal and professional life. My health was going for a toss, and it literally forced me to look deeper. And that's when I discovered inner child healing and different healing modalities and coaching. And through my own experiences and my own learning, I shifted and pivoted my career at age 32, completely from corporate to being a coach. So that's briefly my story. So let's begin today. I'm super excited, and it's not a very serious topic. We will make it fun because, of course, we are talking about inner children, so children need to have fun. And one quote from my mentor, Dr. Hans Tendam, who was our coach for inner child healing and past life regression. Beautiful statement. Do keep it with you. He said, children before God. Yeah, that's how important we have to, that is how much importance we need to give to children, and first your own inner children. So I know a lot of you here are parents, so don't jump right now to think about your children. Let's take a moment to think about first your own inner children, the little parts of you which are always active, and give them that attention and priority which they have always wanted and needed, right? So let me share my screen. All right. So let's make this section a little bit fun. Think about your current job. Yeah. And let's see if your inner child was heading this job or leading this current role that you are. What would the job title be? Now, when I say inner child, it is a part of you which might be scared. It is a part of you which might be a little bit confused, a part of you which is not very sure. So let me give you some examples to let you think about it. Would it be a chief people pleaser officer? Okay. Or would it be silent overthinker in charge? Or would it be head of panic at feedback? So any feedback and I get panicked. So, it's something we can reflect on. And trust me, my inner child, when that was very, very active, it was like the chief worry officer, and it was running the department like overtime 24/7. So everything I was doing, there was worry, there was the fear of rejection. So I have been a, chief rejection officer for my life, feeling rejected at everything, rejecting my own self. And those experiences actually showed up in so many different ways. Sometimes those reactions are very, very upfront, but sometimes they are very, very subtle. Sometimes they show up as values. We've all heard of values like honesty is a best policy. And all of us spend so much time being honest to others, but rarely do we think, are we honest to ourselves? Are we honest to ourselves about our own needs? Are we being honest when we are saying yes to everything? Often not. Often we don't even think in those terms, right? So a lot of times these inner dialogues that we have, they are so focused on looking outside that we forget to look inside, and we don't even realize that it is a problem, right? So today we are going to reflect on some of these deeper thoughts, these deeper patterns, which shape our life knowingly and unknowingly, and they have a greater impact even more than our skills, even more than our experience, even more than our qualification, right? And once we understand them, then we can work with them and not let them work against us, right? Yeah, director of micromanaging, that's also a big one. Yeah. So I work with so many new leaders who just don't know how not to micromanage. Not because they actually don't trust their subordinates or reportees, but because they don't trust life, because they don't trust themselves. So they need to, kind of control everything. Every outcome has to be controlled. And unknowingly, they start to micromanage, right? So I'll ask you to take a moment and just become aware. Where in your career right now are you feeling stuck or overstretched or under recognized? And here are a few statements. So just read these 5 statements, and I want everyone to see which of these resonates the most with you. How many of them? So you can give me a number in the chat, whether one of them resonates, whether 2, 3, 4, all 5. So just becoming aware of this is the first step. So we have to understand, and I will keep repeating this statement again and again. So please pardon me if it is repetitive, but I will. Whatever we are going to do today, it is not like we are trying to point out flaws. It is not that it is something, there's something wrong with you, so wrong with us. No, we are just becoming more aware. But the first step to becoming aware is self compassion. So, when we are going to look at these parts of us, we are going to hold a lot of compassion and kindness. It's not self blame, it's not saying that we have some flaw. We are just finding out parts of us and reason why they behave the way they behave. But we will hold a lot of compassion, because without self love and self compassion, we cannot arrive at self awareness. All we can do is self bashing and self blame, which does not help, right? So we'll keep bringing this awareness back, that utmost self love and utmost self compassion is what we lead with, right? So we became aware what we are struggling with right now. So now take a moment, and why do you think everyone gave the number one problem they are struggling with right now? Why do you think you have perfectionism? Why do you think you have self doubt? Why do you think you are not visible even when you are very competent? Take a moment and reflect on your why. Let's take a dive deeper and see what is the real reason, right? So we'll now go a step deeper beyond our own thought right now, because we are trying to diagnose a thought with another thought, right? Which is not always going to work because we already have that belief. So to look at that belief very objectively is not possible, because we already are we are in the understanding of that belief itself, right? So for that, we'll go through this one small exercise, right? Before I go deeper into explaining what it is, let's do this self assessment, and then let's see what is really happening, right? So I will be taking you through certain questions, and I believe that we can all answer those questions with 100% honesty. So it will be simple questions, and for each question on a scale of 1 to 5, you will give a rating. 1 is not at all, and 5 is the most, right? So don't think too much. Try to answer as quickly as possible. So what you can do is, if you have a sheet of paper or a notebook, you can just write the number of the question and your score, right? So you don't have to copy the whole question. Maybe question, so 1 and then your score, then 2, then your score, 3, your score. And then I will show you how to calculate the total score. Yeah. Are we all good? Do we all have something to write on, or a notepad, or maybe even if you can open a notepad on your system, that also works. Yeah. So let's go with this assessment. So like I said, on a 5-point scale, 1 is not at all true and 5 is very true. So quickly we'll answer. So question number 1, I often feel unworthy or unappreciated when my ideas are overlooked in meetings. So on a scale of 5, what is your score? So keep making a note of your scores because we will need to calculate them, okay? So second question, I fear people will stop valuing me if I don't constantly prove myself. So quickly, let's give the score quickly. Don't have to think too much about it. Third question, when others are praised, I feel small or like I'm not good enough. Yeah, just let's be honest with ourselves. We don't have to share with everyone exactly which score we gave to which, and we will only calculate the total scores. Okay. All right. So next three questions. So question number 4, when I'm excluded from meetings or group discussions, I take it very personally. Again, 1 to 5. 1, not at all. 5, very true. Question 5, I fear people will stop valuing me if I don't constantly prove myself.
Ritu, I think you jumped back to the previous
Or
slide.
did I? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Question number 5, I often worry that colleagues or managers will forget about me or leave me out. Question 6, I feel anxious or panicked when people go silent or take long to respond. Okay, moving on. Question 7, when someone corrects me or points out a mistake, I feel deep shame. Question 8, I hide my struggles or vulnerabilities because I fear being judged. Question 9, even small failures make me spiral into overthinking or self-blame. Yeah, moving on, last three. Question 10, I get upset when others don't follow the rules or get ahead unfairly. On a scale of 5. Question 11, it bothers me deeply when decisions are made without transparency or logic. Twelve, I feel controlled or suffocated when people micromanage me. Yeah. Okay, now last three. Yeah. 13, I feel hurt or angry when someone I trust doesn't follow through on their promises. 14, I struggle to trust others easily, especially in professional environments. And last one, I feel extremely triggered when I sense manipulation or dishonesty. So now everyone, let us see question 1, 2, 3. Just add your scores. So because all maximum is 15, so you'll get a score on 15. So for only question 1, 2, 3, whatever is the score, you just write that. So you can write R and then you can write the score. Let's say it's 7 on 15, it is 5 on 15, it is 15 on 15, it is 10 on 15, whatever it is. Just add question 1, 2, 3, get the score, and you can write in your notebooks R and then the score. Yeah. And I'll tell you what R stands for, but let's do the scores right now. Then you can write A and write the score by adding question 4, 5, and 6. Whatever score was there for 4, 5, and 6, simply add that, and that is the score for A, whatever that A stands for. Yeah, on 15. Then write H and then calculate the score for questions 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. Then I, write I, and then calculate the score for question 10, 11, and 12. and then write B and add up the score for question 13, 14, and 15. R is the rejection wound. So I'll talk more about these. So there are basically 5 inner child wounds. What that means, again, I will tell you. But for now, R is a wound which is called the rejection wound. What it means, how it happens, what it does, I'll talk about it in a moment. R is the rejection wound. So that is your score. A is the abandonment wound. This is another deep inner child wound called abandonment wound. H is humiliation wound. I is injustice wound. And B is betrayal wound, right? So whatever scores you have got, now you know which wound is what the score is. Again, these are indicative. Of course, this is not some scientific study. So we are not saying that this is 100%, but this is just for you to understand. It's a self-assessment, just to get an idea where you are in which wound, and then you can see how it impacts your behavior. So this is what, again, it is indicative. So if you're getting a score of 3 to 6 for any of the wounds, 3 to 6 on 15, which means it is not very significant right now. If the score is 7 to 10, which means this wound may be influencing some patterns or reactions. 11 to 15 means it is likely a core wound, which might be affecting you in your experiences in the workplace, relation, success, and self-worth. And usually, because these wounds are very much a part of our being, of our fabric, they impact all aspects of our life. Though we might see them more prominently in one particular aspect, but usually they impact all aspects. That's why it is very important to work and heal them. And that's why also it is very easy, because if you work with these wounds, you can actually see positive changes in all areas of your life, right? So it's all interconnected. So for now, let us understand and decode what are these wounds, right? Now, inner child wound, most of us have somewhere heard this word now because it's a buzzword. Like Kanchana said, 20 years ago, we were not talking about this. But in the last 5 years, yes. Even when I started my journey, no one was talking about this. Even I didn't know. But in the last 5 years, yes, even I am hearing a lot of people are aware. Still, I'll give you a very, very layman language understanding what inner child is. So basically, the concept is that most of our understanding of the world happens between age 0 and 7, right? 0 means while you are still in your mom's womb. Even then, you are taking all the inputs. We all know the story of Arjun and his son Abhimanyu, who learned the entire Chakravyuh when he was in the mother's womb. So that's not just a myth. Actually, that's proven by science now, that even as young as in the womb, we take all the inputs of the environment, of the feelings, which are emotions which are around us, especially from the mother and close people in our family. And from that time till age 7, our mind is very, very open. We do not have critical filter. In very simple layman language, we don't have the capacity to filter out information. So we simply absorb everything. And because we absorb everything, we form very, very literal understanding of the world. But because we have absorbed it, it goes very deep in our psyche. And from there, we start to look at the world in a certain way. And because all these understandings are formed at such a young age, of course, we do not have discrimination, or we do not have wisdom to see whether this thing really is true or not. We simply take it as true. So if you scold a child and you tell a child that you're the worst person, the child will not use logic that my mom or some elder is saying this because they are angry. They will simply say this must be true, right? So that is how the beliefs get formed in as simple language as I can explain. Otherwise, it's a whole study in a child healing. So because of this understanding and experiences, we form certain beliefs about life right between age 0 and 7. And as we grow older, we might forget why we formed that belief. We might forget what happened, but we still remember how we feel. Our body remembers, and our whole perspective or the lens through which we look at the world changes based on those age 0 to 7 experiences heavily. And any new experience that comes after that, our mind simply takes that experience and tries to fit it into what we already believe. And if it fits the belief, it will take it. If it does not, it will simply reject it. So if age 0 to 7, I believe that I am not good no matter what I do. Let's say in 12th, I did very well in studies and everyone is praising me and everyone is telling me how good I am. But it does not match my childhood belief because I believe I'm not good enough. I will not take that praise. I will still feel I'm not good and I have to do more. And that's how high achievers are formed, right? So they will keep achieving, they will keep achieving, but to the world, they seem like perfect. To the world, they seem like they are doing so well. But deep inside, they still feel they have not arrived or they have not achieved enough, right? So that is how it works. So it's quite counterproductive after a point that leads to burnout and so many other challenges. We'll discuss about that. So basically, there are 5 core wounds. 5 core, it can be classified. Of course, each person will have a mix of all these wounds also. It's not that it's, the demarcation is very, very strict. It's mix and match. But just for understanding purpose, let's see. Number one is the rejection wound. Okay. So this happens when you grew up feeling unloved, excluded, or like you had to earn your place to be accepted, right? This can happen in families where there's very high expectation or where the parents might be themselves pushing themselves too much to achieve. So everything is very, very performance based, right? So if you perform, then you get love. If you do not perform, you do not get love. So you are not loved just by virtue of being you. Your existence is not enough. You have to perform in order to get love. And I think this is very, very common, at least I think in India, in most of Southeast Asia, I think this is a culture that we are told that if you get good marks, then you are praised, otherwise you are worthless, right? Because it also comes from the parents' own conditioning. So we are not going deeper into that. We are not talking about blaming anyone over here. We are just understanding what really happens, right? So this wound can develop because of this particular experience. Now, what happens because of this wound and how it is related to our current life, especially in the workspace, if I might be very specific about it. So there are certain situations which will trigger this wound. So because of these experiences and because of the lens through which we see the world, certain situations which will make us react more, and those become our triggers, right? So generally what will happen if you feel that you are not being chosen for a project, if you are being left out of a decision, when others get praised, so yes, your rational mind, of course, you are an adult. There is, of course, you have access to your rational brain. Your rational mind will tell you, okay, no, 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 because maybe I was not the right fit. Maybe the other person has done well. I need to pull up my socks, whatever. But there will be a part of you which does not believe all that rational logic. It is just triggered. It just feels I am rejected. No one likes me. I have to do more. I have to prove more. I am just rejected, and that becomes kind of an underlying theme. So no matter how much you are doing with your logical mind, your subconscious mind or a part of you is very, very triggered, and it believes deeply that I am not loved, I am rejected just because I am not given the project. And because of that, you behave a certain way. Now, do these behaviors, like I said, sometimes may seem like they are positive behaviors, but a lot of time they are counterproductive behaviors. Like perfectionism, it seems like there's nothing wrong with perfectionism. I should be perfect. This is who I am. But actually, it is coming from a fear, and actually, it is coming from a wound. That's why it will be counterproductive, because you cannot choose not to be perfect certain times, right? That's how it impacts you. If you had a choice, if I have a choice that by choice, yes, I'm trying to do the best in this field, but here I know I'm just starting off, I cannot be perfect, so I'm starting and I'm giving myself the space to learn and evolve, then I am fine. But if I have to be perfect and I don't give myself the space to make a mistake, then the perfectionism is counterproductive, then it is coming from a deeper wound. So that's a very thin line. Sometimes we might say there's nothing wrong with perfectionism, there's nothing wrong with being a high achiever, but if you are getting burned out, if you do not know when to stop, then it is a problem, right? So behavioral patterns which come are people pleasing. So if you have a rejection wound, you will unknowingly try to please people because you don't want to be rejected. So that's your underlying theme. Logically, you might be doing so many things, you might try, but this is an underlying theme and it will catch up with you one way or the other. Or you will overwork to prove your worth, or you will be feeling invisible or inferior when others succeed. So you will get very triggered. So out of that trigger, either you will overwork or you will try to go to the other extreme and let me not even show my work because anyways I'm not good enough. So they are not choosing me for one project, let me not even pitch for another project, right? Once I am rejected, let me not even try. So those kind of extreme behaviors we might display, or I will start to overwork, or I'll start to say yes for everything even when I want to say no. So it's extreme behavior. So those patterns will become a part of your everyday life. So let's move on and first understand all the wounds. So the second wound, and now you have the scores also, so you know which wound is very high and you are getting some insights. And trust me, these insights will keep coming to you. This is the first time you're getting exposed to it. So allow them to come. Don't judge your feelings. Don't try to rationalize it. Don't try to dismiss it, or don't try to get overwhelmed. Just understand this for now. Just this awareness itself is a first step to healing, right? All right. So second one is the abandonment wound. Now, abandonment happens in many ways. It's not only physical, it is also emotional. So it's not that only someone who has physically parents who are not there will feel abandoned. Even both parents being very much physically present but emotionally not present also will lead to a deep abandonment wound, because as children we need a very deep emotional connect, and a lot of times in parents might be busy, they might not have enough resources, because of which they are putting all their energy in providing for the family, which of course is a very important thing, but in that whole process they might not have the bandwidth or self awareness to be able to be emotionally present for the child, and the child has that need as well, as much as a child needs food and to be clean clothes or a shelter. A child also has deep emotional needs, and when they go unmet, not knowingly, but mostly it's happens unknowingly, it creates an abandonment wound. So like, no one is there for me, I'm all alone, no one has my back. A lot of times growing up we feel that if we get into trouble because the parents are so busy, they are so worked up, we don't want to bother them, we feel like let me handle it on my own. So that also is something which comes from a deep abandonment wound, that let me not take my problems to them because they are already too occupied. So if at a young age I had to take on that kind of responsibility, I will develop this abandonment wound. Yeah. So some of the triggers now, which as an adult, now you might be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even till the time you die, you can still have these wounds carrying on with you, right? So just a simple delayed response, if that triggers you, that can trigger you if you have a deeper abandonment wound. Someone pulling away, so you will sense it very quickly. They might just be busy, but you will always interpret it in a way that they are going to abandon you, right? Emotional distance, sudden change in attention. So if someone is giving attention and suddenly that attention changes, you will be very, very sensitive to it, right? And because of that, you will behave in a certain way, right? Again, I'll come to this point that all these triggers, of course there is a part of the trigger which is like the cue, which is like external to us. So there are things that external situations or people are doing, so there is a part over there, and then there is our response. Now we cannot control situations and people, but we are just understanding what is our role, what is that responsibility, or what is that reaction which is coming from me, and what I can do about it, right? So again, I'm not saying that if someone is delaying response, they are it's they are doing the right thing. I'm not saying that. They are doing what they are doing. We are right now only focusing on what am I doing, what's happening inside of me, How am I interpreting it? And because of that, how do I behave? So there's a certain behavioral pattern. You will be more clingy in relationship because you need that constant assurance. You might become very, very anxious when someone is not assuring you again and again. Then there is a fear of being forgotten or replaced. So because of that, you will tend to overdo things. You will tend to uh, give more of yourself without being rational about it or without taking care of your own needs. And in some ways, because of the fear of abandonment, you might abandon yourself because you don't want to be abandoned by someone else. What you are going to do is you are going to be so focused on other people's needs that you are going to abandon your own needs. And that is why the wound just continues, right? So again, take a pause. This is a deeper understanding. I don't want anyone to get overwhelmed. Take a moment, take a breath, and just know that it's okay. We all have most of these wounds. And trust me, this is how it was meant to be. As humans, our souls came up with the agenda to learn through these experiences, right? So there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your parents. There's nothing wrong with the world that you had to experience this. This is the journey of your soul. We were all supposed to experience these things to eventually understand that we can heal all of this on our own, right? So this is just a part of your journey. Nothing wrong with anyone. Trust me, when first time I studied about all these things, I felt like, oh my God, my life is such a mess, as if everything is wrong with me. But that's how we can feel sometimes, but it's all right. Everyone goes through all these experiences. All right. Third one is the humiliation wound. Now, this can happen if you were compared or if you were shamed, if you were, for making mistakes, you were shamed for making mistake. Now, sometimes the adults around us, or a lot of this happens in schools as well. If a child makes a mistake in front of all the children, they are made to stand, they are scolded. And because the teachers also do not know, now people are talking about how to deal with such situations, and teachers are being trained, but still there is a lot of work over there which we need to do. So unknowingly a child is humiliated because somewhere, at least in Indian culture, but I have worked with clients globally from different all different races, but I've understood that most cultures, most places, people believe that to correct someone or to make someone see their mistake, you have to blame them or shame them, right? So that is a wrong understanding. No one learns through blame and shame. But unfortunately, we do that to ourselves also. So when we make a mistake, we shame ourselves. And we feel that if I tell myself that how stupid am I to make this mistake, probably next time I won't make it, right? But it does not work that way. So shaming and blaming is not the right way to correct action to learn something. But unfortunately, that is something which everyone has learned and they just keep passing on to the next generation. So in schools and at homes, when there is shame or belittling for expressing emotion, or let's say if a child is throwing a tantrum because they are having bigger emotions, they don't know how to control it, and they are told that you are acting out, you should not be crying, this is too much, behave yourself, and this is not acceptable, then again it creates a humiliation wound. Or if there is a constant comparison also, that can lead to humiliation wound. So in your adult life, especially in work situations, some of the triggers might be receiving critical feedback, right? Being talked over. So if you're saying something and then someone just talks over you, you can get very triggered if you have a higher humiliation wound. Making a mistake in public, feeling exposed or mocked. Now, again, these will be triggers for you. Now, for everyone, the trigger will show up in a different way. Some people might externalize it, some people might just internalize it. But if it is a trigger, it is going to bother you. So just become aware of it. Some common behavioral patterns because of these triggers. You might be hiding your vulnerabilities because if you have a fear of being exposed and mocked, if you feel humiliated, you will not like to be very vulnerable. You would avoid risk because you don't want to make a mistake. What will people say will be a constant thought in your head, right? And you will not take up new projects if you're not sure that you're going to be able to succeed in that. So again, you will not take risk where you need to take risk, right? Then you will over apologize, or you might shut down after small failures. So small failure and you will just give up because you do not want to feel humiliated, you do not want to make a mistake, right? So these are some behavioral patterns which come from humiliation wound. And of course, it is very obvious, if all this is going to happen, then your growth is going to get stopped. You will not be able to achieve your highest potential, what you actually can, right? Because you are too bothered about the failure part. Fourth one, the injustice wound. Now, this is also very, very common. A lot of times we feel that, world is not fair, or there's favoritism at work, which by the way, there is, right? But how much I'm going to get triggered by that will be determined by my injustice wound. So everyone can see that, yes, things are not always fair. But if I generally do not have an injustice wound, I will be able to navigate better. But if I have a higher injustice wound, it will become a blocker for me. So if you grew up in a very rigid authoritarian environment where your voice did not matter and the rules were unfair, like there were decisions were given without considering your point of view, right? If you, let's say you had a fight with your sibling and your sibling hit you first, but when you hit back, that is the time your parents saw. And even though you said that they hit me also, and I just retaliated, no one heard. And they just simply told you that, you are the aggressive one and you were punished. Or someone else, there were two different rules at two different times. For the same mistake, one day the parent or the adult around you was okay, but the next day, because they were upset, you were scolded badly or you were beaten up for that same mistake. So then you do not know what is right and what is wrong, because there is different behavior for the same situation. So there is no consistency. Then you can develop this kind of understanding of about life, that it's not fair, that there is injustice, right? So a trigger in your current situation might be inconsistent rules, unfair evaluation, favoritism, micromanaged, right? Which, by the way, is very, very common. These things are common in all workplaces. No workplace can say they don't have this. And by virtue of being humans, we will be unfair, right? See, if I am working with five people, definitely I will have more, you can say, rapport with maybe some of them than the other. It will not always be equal, right? So even if I am a very fair leader, I will still end up having more alignment with one or two people and less with the other two, right? So that is natural. But if someone has a trigger with this, they will feel that they are being unjustly treated, whereas it might just be that's how, like, it's very, very natural for people to not be 100% same with everyone. That's not possible humanly. But if I have a wound, I will feel that it is too much and I will react from that space. So a behavioral pattern will be, I'll become very rigid or controlling. I will be very, very easily offended by unfairness. So if I'll just even sense a little bit of unfairness, I'll be very offended, I'll react. I may rebel or withdraw in silence. So again, with all these wounds, the behavior is always extreme, right? Like I said, for some people, it will be external, some people, it will be internal. So some people, their behavior will be very, very external, so others can see. For some people, it will be very much of internalization of these beliefs, right? So it acts different for different people, right? Some people are very vocal, so they might be starting to rebel, but some will just internalize it and feel very restricted within. And that's also going to impact them. So both will impact, but for different people, it will show up in different ways, right? So the last one, the betrayal wound. Now, this happens when the trusted adults broke promises, when boundaries were violated, or they failed to protect you. Right? This also is a very, very deep wound. It can have happen because of physical violence, physical abuse. It can also happen because of sexual abuse. It can also happen because of bullying, right? Even sometimes you're bullied by your own older siblings. And if the parents were not able to protect you, that also can lead to a betrayal wound. Or if the one of the parents was only very abusive, physically abusive, that can also lead to betrayal wound. Or if someone else was there who was physically or sexually abusive, but the parents did not or could not protect, then also you will have a betrayal wound, right? So these are slightly deeper, and they can also have a huge impact growing up if we do not heal it. So the triggers can be if colleagues who break trust. So in your current situation, in the current workplace, these everyday situations can trigger these wounds, like a colleague who's breaking trust, or someone is gossiping, or when someone breaks a promise, or you feel unsupported despite loyalty. So you feel you are being loyal, but then they are not supporting you, or someone just said a point which was against your point, and just that itself can be a huge trigger. You will not be able to process it rationally because it's a trigger for you. So some common behavioral patterns will be hyper independence, controlling behavior. Now, because you feel betrayed, so you don't want to depend on anyone. So you're trying to be very, very independent. So I don't need anyone because I don't trust anyone, right? So you will have trust issues. You will have constant suspicion. You might have anger when others let you down. So it will, again, you will not be very open to receiving help. You will not be very open to delegating work. So those become your patterns because you don't trust others can do a good job, because somewhere you feel you will be let down. Or if, when they make a small mistake, you will feel hugely let down and you cannot trust back very quickly. So I'll take you through a guided practice. Now, because we became aware of these wounds, let's take a moment and connect with those parts of us which have felt this wound, so that we can start the healing process. Of course, there is a limited scope in these sessions for healing, but we will do some amount of healing as well, so that we can all feel more connected to those parts of us which felt this way, right? So I would request all of you to just sit wherever you are, sit comfortably and close your eyes. I'll be guiding you through a guided visualization. And if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can keep your eyes open. That's okay too. Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with. So just be fully present in your body. If possible, sit straight. So take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Couple of more deep breaths. Breathe in, see your belly expand, and slowly breathe out. Feel your body. If you're sitting on a chair, feel your back resting against the back of the chair. Feel your feet on the ground if your feet are on the ground. Just feel your body. Be fully present in your body. Now gently bring to mind a recent situation where you felt something stir inside you. Maybe you felt overlooked or misunderstood. Maybe you were anxious, angry, withdrawn, or found yourself shrinking, freezing, over explaining, or overworking. A recent situation, maybe in the last week, the last month. Let that moment rise gently to the surface. No judgment. Simply observe. See yourself in that situation. Where were you? Who all were involved? Just be present in that situation. What was being said? What was unsaid? Simply become aware. And most importantly, what did you feel in your body? Was there a tightening in the chest, a lump in your throat, knots in your stomach, or numbness? Take a moment, feel what you were feeling in your body. Now take a breath and gently ask yourself, have I felt this feeling before? Now let your mind drift back to another time, years ago, when this exact feeling first came up. Keep going back because your mind and your body remembers. You were much younger, the situation was different, but the feeling was the same. The emotion, the sensation in your body was exactly the same. Maybe you were left alone, or blamed, or ignored, or made to feel like you had to earn love. Just notice what age you were. Whatever comes up for you right now is all right. Can you see that younger version of yourself? Where are they? What are they wearing? What expression is there on their face? Now see yourself as the adult of today, slowly walking over to them. Gently kneel to their level and just be with that younger version of you. Look at this younger version and gently say to them, I see you. I know this is hard, but you're not alone anymore. I'm here now. If they want to speak, let them. If not, just offer your loving presence. Keep breathing and just be present with this younger version of you, letting them know that you are here now and they are safe with you. Whenever they are ready, ask them to come back with you so that you can take care of them. Let them know that they don't have to protect you in the same old way anymore. That younger version can rest now because now you are the adult. Take the hand and slowly, lovingly bring them back with you. Feel this younger part of you merging with you, growing up to your current age, your current energy level. Place a hand on your heart and feel that integration. You are bringing back this younger part of you. Take a few deep breaths and feel this integration complete. Whenever you are ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back in the here and the now. Everyone, take a moment and answer these couple of questions for yourself. What did this younger part of me need back then? Did they need someone to listen to them? Did they need someone to guide them? Did they need someone to believe in them? Did they need someone to just simply be there for them? Just become aware. What did this younger part of me need back then? Second question you have to reflect on is, how have they been trying to protect me? Now, this younger version, if they needed someone to hear them out, or if they needed someone to believe them, but of course they did not get it, right? That's why they needed it. So, how did they try to protect me? So, because they felt that no one is going to hear them out, so in order to protect me, did they stop expressing? Did they stop becoming very, very independent? Did they stop hiding? What did this part do? Because whatever that part was doing, it was to protect you. So just become aware. If that answer comes to you, okay. If it does not, that's also okay. But for now, whatever comes to you, you can write that. Third question is, what can I offer them now? Because now you are the adult. Now you are not 5, 8, 12, 15. No, you are much older. So now let's say you are the adult. So whatever that part needed from an adult, now you can offer it. So become aware, what can you offer right now as an adult, your adult self? And it does not have to be a huge thing. It has to be something very simple. Can you offer them an empathetic ear? Can you offer them space to simply express? Because usually a child does not need too many things. Needs of a child are very simple. Can you offer them encouragement? Can you offer them the space to make a mistake? What can you offer this child right now as an adult of today? Just right now. You don't have to become some great person. Just right now, as you are, what can you offer? The needs of a child are very simple. Now you know. So you can give yourself that space. I will be sharing some exercises which you can do to connect more with these parts of you. Sense of belonging, yes. So don't wait for others to make you feel belong. You start to make yourself that I belong. I belong to me. That's the first statement you have to tell yourself. You belong to you because you are there with you 24/7 and you're going to be with yourself 24/7 till you die, right? So you might as well give yourself that belonging. Don't wait for others to give you the love, to give you the understanding, to give you the space to express. First, give it to yourself. That is the first step to healing. And it's also called reparenting. So inner child wounds are formed because somehow the adults were not able to meet the needs. But now, since we are the adults, we can meet all those needs. We are very much capable. We have everything that we need to fulfill those needs. Now, when we start to meet those needs, it's called reparenting, and that is how you heal. So you don't wait for anyone else to give you those things. You start to give yourself those things. And most of those things you can give yourself. You can give yourself, the space to express, the understanding, the belonging, heard, being seen, ability to express. You can give it to yourself. Yeah, we'll also give tools how you can do it. Just some case studies I'm sharing. Of course, the names have been changed. Just to give an understanding how this work can help you and what tangible changes you can see, especially in terms of your work and your career, because we are, of course, talking about professional life at the moment. So, just wanted to share some stories to make this more clear that internal healing fuels external visibility, right? So, one of my clients, how she went from being invisible to influential. So, what was happening for Priya? Of course, the name is changed and details also are changed so that we don't reveal their identity. So, a mid level marketing manager, basically, what was happening for her was that she used to over prepare for every meeting, but still feel unseen and unheard. If her idea was ignored, she would shrink, convinced that she didn't belong in the room. Now, when she traced this back to her inner child and she was trying to earn the love through performance, then something shifted. After healing her rejection wound, she began speaking up without fear, detached her worth from others' validation, and soon she was invited to lead a cross functional training. So, once we shift the narrative, because internal dialogue or internal wounds are what shape the way we look at the world. It's very less to do with what others are thinking, very much to do with what you believe they are thinking, right? So when you don't chase that, then it does not have that much power on you. Another example of this person, Ravi, going from anxious to anchored. So what was happening for him, that he would feel very anxious and he would overcompensate with hard work, right? So he would quickly, spiral if a manager was not replying, and he would try to work too hard, but still he would get caught up in those negative thought spirals. And as he explored the patterns, he realized that there was an abandonment wound which was driving this sense that he had to build safety through uh, going after people or overworking or over delivering. So he stopped chasing that constant reassurance because he felt that he is not going to abandon himself. He is going to be there for himself. So the more he did that, the less he needed others to reassure him. And when that dependency was less, of course, he was able to have better boundaries and better outcomes. From shame to self trust, again, this is someone who was going through the humiliation wound. And because of that, the feedback, it was very difficult for her to receive the feedback and to use the feedback to her advantage. And feedback, we all know, is very, very important. So she would over apologize. She would second guess her decision. She would, be very, very scared of making a mistake. But once she understood what was really driving those things, it was not just logical things that she was doing, it was deeper wound. Then she stopped punishing herself for being human. She was more open to feedback with curiosity. She did not take it as a personal attack or a personal flaw. So another person, another example, because some of these stories are very relatable. That's why I want you to also get an understanding, and maybe some of you will be having a similar story, right? So from frustration to focused, again, this is someone who was struggling from injustice wound and felt that there is a lot of office politics. I think this is something all of us can relate with. We feel there is politics, there is unfair promotion, that rules are not clear, there is favoritism, and then we become resentful or we withdraw or we react defensively. So this is exactly what was happening for Akash. And once he was able to work through his own the injustice wound and work through his own triggers, he was able to then navigate things, be more present, be more factual, and he learned to advocate assertively without drama, without getting caught up that things are happening to me or people are doing this to me and world is unfair. Without getting into that spiral, he was able to navigate with proper strategies. So strategies also will not work if we are too caught up in our own head, right? So we need strategies. Of course we need career strategies, of course we need growth strategies, but once we heal, we are able to use those strategies more effectively, because then we are not making everything personal. Because of these wounds, usually we make everything very, very personal. And once we do that, it's very difficult to see objectively. From distrust to delegation, this is something which a lot of new managers suffer from. They micromanage because they do not trust and they are not able to delegate. And that's why they end up doing everything. And on the flip side, the team starts to feel that they are not valued. So it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved, right? So once that is clear, then you can start to build trust first in your own self, and then you can start to build trust with people around you. You can delegate. You would let those people also make a mistake. See, the thing is, if you are very harsh on yourself and you don't allow yourself to make a mistake, chances are you are same way with others as well. You would not give space to other people also to make a mistake. So it will be very difficult for others also to work with you or to support you, because they will be on edge too, knowing that you will be very very harsh with your judgment, or you will start taking over and start doing everything on your own, right? So this is very very counterproductive, and once we understand these patterns, we can learn to get out of them. So now coming to the last section, how we can reclaim our inner power. Like I said, all these things which are happening for us, they are just pointing to some deeper patterns that we are carrying. And once we are aware of these patterns, we don't need to be controlled by these patterns. We can use these to our advantage. So, yes, there are things that we experience in life, there are things that we see in the world. But once we know where we are coming from, then we can have much more clarity and we can choose our response, right? We can still feel certain things, but we can decide that, okay, this is how I want to show up right now. This is how I can support myself, and this is how I can show up for myself. So, first is emotional regulation. So, with all these triggers, now we became aware of these triggers. Of course, they just don't go away like that. First thing is to keep becoming aware of them, right? So, first stop is to regulate your emotion. In that moment, how you can regulate. If you are getting triggered by something, now you are aware of it also. What you can do in that moment, right? So, first, we need to get out of that loop as soon as possible. So there are very, very simple steps. Deep breathing always helps because the breath creates a distance between the trigger and the reaction. Plus, when we are triggered, usually our brain is also not working to its optimum level. So if we send in more oxygen, because once we are anxious, we are breathing shallow, less oxygen is going in the brain. So the deep breathe, if we do the deep breathing exercises, immediately we are sending more oxygen to the brain. We are creating distance between the trigger and the reaction. So it's very very helpful. Plus it can be done anywhere. So it's not that you need to go away. Even if you're having an argument, or if you're in a situation where you're feeling very triggered, you can always take a pause and you can just regulate your breathing. So intentionally start to deep breathe. If you can do box breathing simply means you inhale for a certain count, hold for a certain count, exhale for a certain count, again hold for a certain count, then again inhale. So it's like a box. So you inhale 4, you hold 4, you exhale 4, again you hold 4, then again inhale 4. Like that you can do box breathing. 4-7-8 breathing also is something you can practice. You inhale for a count of 4, you pause for a count of 7, like hold the breath, and then you exhale for a count of 8. Practice these things before the trigger has happened so that you are used to doing these things. So you can make it a part of your morning routine. You can start doing this deep breathing exercises somewhere during the day, because there are so many stressors all the time. So take a pause, take 5 minutes break, do the breathing exercises. Movement. So if you are feeling very stuck because of all the triggers, go take a walk, stretch, because the energy is stuck. So when you do that, you go in nature, you can distance yourself from the trigger, and also you can get some space. So these are immediate emotional regulation techniques. Journaling again is a beautiful technique. So let's say you felt everything is unjust in office, or people are behaving in a certain way, they did not include me, all those thoughts are coming now. Just keeping those thoughts in your head can make you spiral. So it's always a good idea to write them out in a journal. So this kind of journaling is more like a brain dump journaling. So you just dump all those negative thoughts and then you tear it and throw it away. So what you are doing is you are externalizing all those thoughts and emotions instead of keeping it in your head, it running and playing over and over again. You are writing it out, and trust me, if you do this, you start to feel very, very relaxed. Then you can process it. First you have to regulate the emotion, only then you have access to deeper understanding. When you are agitated, when you are triggered, that time you can't process anything. So these three simple techniques can help you first reach a place where you are calmer, where you're more grounded, and then you can move to doing any kind of processing. Now, once you are in a better space, these are two exercises for reparenting. One is the simple mirror work, simply looking at yourself in the mirror, smiling, giving yourself a high five, saying a positive statement, even as simple as I see you, I hear you, I'm here for you. Just saying that simple thing. Now, neuroscience has done tons of research, though these things were known to us even before it was proved by science, but now even science is backing it. Our brain starts to rewire, our body starts to feel safe, because for years we have had these dialogues because of those wounds, that you don't belong, you're not good enough, others are better than you, right? Your emotions don't matter. So constantly those thoughts and those dialogues have been running through our entire system. Now we want to change that. So we can start with something as simple as this, looking at yourself and you telling you that you are okay, I got you, I got your back. So very simple but very, very powerful exercise. My favorite exercise, which I give to everyone I meet. I think everyone should be taught in schools. They should teach this exercise. It's one of the most beautiful exercise to reparent yourself, to calm down and to connect with your deeper parts. Another beautiful exercise is writing a letter to your younger self. So today we did a beautiful guided process and we connected to a younger part of you. After this workshop, maybe tomorrow, maybe over the weekend, take out some time and you write a letter to that younger part. Now you are the adult. So, what you need to write about, you have to tell that younger version that you see them, you understand what they were going through, and it was all valid. Whatever that younger part of you felt was valid. You don't have to go into explanation that this is why it happened, this is why adults could not show up. No, you are simply letting them know that whatever they felt, whatever they experienced, you understand that. So just giving them that acknowledgement of all the feelings and giving them the assurance that now they are safe with you, as if you're telling your own child. If you are a parent, you know what it means to talk to your child and assure them. The same thing you have to do with your inner child. And if you're not a parent, still just think of that as a younger being, younger child, and you're talking to a young child. So a child does not need logic. That's the first rule you have to understand. A child does not need logic. A child needs connection and love and acknowledgement that whatever they are feeling, it's okay. They can feel without jumping to explain and to rationalize it. We can just hold space for the child to feel whatever they are feeling. And that itself is very, very healing. And then as you keep doing this exercise, these two, the mirror exercise and journaling, this writing a letter to your inner child, if you practice this maybe even once a week, you will notice in few weeks deeper insights about your own self will start to emerge, because literally those parts of us, they hold a lot of wisdom as well, they hold a lot of resilience as well, and those parts will start speaking to you, and it comes as insights, it comes as intuition. You will have a deeper understanding of yourself, you will be able to see where you are blocking yourself, what you can do differently. A lot of those insights start to come on their own once we allow space for those parts of us to feel safe. We start to see things very, very differently. And it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful process. This is something you can do for yourself. So these are two tools. And of course, the first one, emotion regulation, definitely these two we should do every day. Mirror work also is something you can do every day. Club it with your brushing of your teeth in the morning. Then it becomes super easy. All of us brush teeth in the morning, right? So just club it with that. Make it a point that when you are brushing your teeth, after that, you'll take 2 minutes, give yourself a high five, smile at yourself, and say something positive. And the letter, do write one letter maybe in the next couple of days. And after that, maybe make it a ritual to write a letter to your younger version once every week, once every month, something like that, to connect to those parts of you. And like I said, I would repeat it again, self-love is the prerequisite to self-awareness. So the more aware you want to be, you have to bring in a lot of self-love and compassion. If you're going to judge yourself, awareness won't come, trust me. Those parts of you will not speak to you. So if you want them to really speak to you, you have to be non-judgment. You, within yourself, you have to give yourself the space to say anything. Yeah, with that, I think we have 10-15 minutes left.
Ritu, thank you so much. And it was great for you to offer your help, and it was great for you to offer this wisdom and knowledge and open space for the community. On behalf of everyone, all the participants, I would like to extend a big thank you to you.
Thank you, Kanchana, and thank you everyone for patiently being here. And I hope you'll all take away some love for your inner children, and just please reconnecting with the inner child. That's the best thing you can do. If you can do one thing in your entire life, that is the one thing you should definitely do.
Thank you. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thank you for making time for us. I know it is 2 hours and it's hard for people to spare, but thank you so much. And I do look forward to see you all on the platform.